etc. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So
just my note.
I want to ask quickly, are you recording right now?
I don't have to. I can totally shut it off.
No. I'd like to, because I think I'd like one of us at least to record it, because I do need to retain the answers.
Okay, so why don't you record it on your end, because this is your project. Oh, sorry, man. This is your project, and I don't want to be responsible for screwing it up. So I will exit, because this is more of a transcription service, and I know it records the video as well, but I don't know the quality.
So do I need to?
I think
Do I need to get permission to record it?
if you're the host, yeah, I just have to say yes to it.
Okay. How do I? Because it just says recording unavailable on mine.
It does, eh? Hold on.
Yeah.
Was that because hold on. Where do you see recording unavailable?
Just when I go to the options, the little 3 buttons, it just has the recording just grayed out. You're not allowed to record this video at all.
Oh. Hold on. Activities, host controls. Yeah, it's not saying too much about recording. Hold on. Recording unavailable. Yeah, so why don't we just use my Fathom note taker then?
Okay.
So you needed more for the notes anyway, rather than the quality.
Yes, that's exactly.
Oh, okay, then just let my Fathom run then, and then I'll just I'll link it to you. That's not a problem.
Does it record the audio too?
Records it all, and then the artificial intelligence will digest and summarize if you want it to.
Okay.
Yeah, all of it, man.
Awesome. Anyways, Rhys, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. So once I kind of heard about this project, I was introduced to the project, I immediately thought, hey, Rhys, this guy would be a perfect fit, and he really made this project great. So
it's all good, man. I'm happy to help you. Yeah, fire away with your questions, pal.
Okay, so I'll just start off a quick introduction about the project. It's for my strategic management course, and the idea really is to get an insight into entrepreneurship, the traits and characteristics that make an entrepreneur successful.
Okay.
As well as the environment that kind of foster success.
Yes.
We are also interested in failed ventures as well. If you happen to have unsuccessful.
Every entrepreneur does. Yeah, not
exactly.
Wrong.
So yeah, that's exactly it. Like most successful entrepreneurs, they failed like a million times, right?
Oh yeah.
It's not even failure. It's more like an attempt. I think that's
the failures if you don't learn from your mistakes. So there's entrepreneurs that die penniless because they never learn from their mistakes and they repeat them. And you got to learn not just how to make money, but how to retain it.
True.
Right?
True.
So yeah, there are various examples I could think of that are it's sad. It's sad. There's people that how are they penniless when they know so much? You know what I mean? But it does happen. Yeah, it does happen.
Rhys, have you also had like a venture that maybe didn't turn out the way you wanted and
yeah. I mean, a lot of times you pick the wrong business partners, man.
Okay.
And those ventures never turn out well. If you've got somebody that doesn't match your morals and ethics.
True.
It's a lot easier in this business or in being an entrepreneur, just being straight with people. So, treating people as adults and giving them the good and the bad and letting them make a decision is way better policy than another way of putting it is don't overpromise and underdeliver.
Mm-hmm.
Underpromise and overdeliver.
True.
Right. So even when you and I did business together, helping you find an income property, we weren't giving you the highest possible numbers.
True.
We were giving you the most reasonable numbers, the numbers that we use ourselves when we invest, right? And so that way, the expectation that you're providing the client and what they receive back either as a product or service from you, if it's better than advertised, that client comes back. that client doesn't go anywhere else, right? We might plant the bug in your ear and just say, look, these are the conservative numbers. It could be better than this, but this is a good safe bet. X plus Y equals Z, right?
And yeah, and then most likely they'd end up being a lot happier, right? If you do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you can, I mean, that was your first income property, so rookie mistakes can worsen the numbers, for example,
True.
right? When you're learning at first, essentially what we sell is we sell mini businesses. Being a landlord is a business. It's all about income and expenses. People complain about, bad tenants, tenants that don't pay, that happens once in a while. Tell me a business that doesn't have bad debt.
Yeah.
Including being a landlord.
You should assume that, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we're getting along to some of my questions. So, and we have a lot. So I'll ask them first, and then you can get on with it.
You got it.
Because I do want to also know about like a failed venture that you've maybe attempted. So if the question kind of applies to that, I'd like you to also touch on that if possible.
You got it. So that particular question, as far as failure goes, fortunately, I haven't had a ton of failures. In essence, what happens is something goes well at the beginning, and then you no longer want to do it, or you grow out of it, or there's no scalability, and you exit it, right?
Yep. No, but that counts. If that counts as something that.
Sure. Markets change too. So when I was in university, I had actually even into high school. As soon as I had my license, I had a lawn cutting and landscaping business.
True.
And I actually hired, I got up to a point where I had about 56 lots and nonstop landscaping contracts
Just too much.
as a high school student. And I was hiring my buddies to cut the grass, and I was giving them 2/3 of, and I told them straight up, like, I'm keeping a third, you guys get 2/3. And they were all track athletes, super fit, so they just ran over this grass. Everybody made good money, and then me and one other guy would do the landscaping. So I get one of the big like shop putters to do landscaping with me, so they could lift rocks. And that went really well. And then I ended up with a used computer business in the early days of the internet. Had a little warehouse. This is in university, and they distributed all over the world. But the market changed, right?
Sure.
Increasingly there was fewer and fewer dollars to be made on various products, and you had to scale up to survive and profit. Well, I'm in university running track and field. I'm not in a position really to scale up. So it got down to used laptops basically. And then once those margins started drying up, I got out of the business. But by then I had gotten into real estate sales.
Gotcha.
And I had taken all of that money I was making from the grass cutting, and all of that money I was making from the
computers.
Computers, and I was buying student rental properties with them.
Gotcha. Right. So I guess you'd say what kind of contributed to you exiting the other business would be mainly like market conditions where things change.
Certainly,
a different direction.
Currently, the used computer business was market conditions. Technically, my landscaping company still exists because my best friend took it over and took all my clients, and he's still going.
And was there any other, for your computer business, was there anything else that kind of contributed to you leaving, or was it just purely?
No, I started making over 6 figures as a real estate agent as well.
Right.
So with the market changing and the margins slimming down, I just shut it down.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then talking about your real estate business, like what factors contributed to its success?
Oh man. Well, there's a lot there. There's a lot to unravel. Another failure for you, by the way, is I put together a syndicate to buy a couple of apartment buildings in Chatham.
Okay.
And we got frauded by a woman that frauded a whole bunch of people throughout southwestern Ontario. So my lesson there is you have to do full due diligence. You can't just approve some of the units and not other units. They were basically not showing us the meth lab and the unit, the unit that was already down to the studs because of a water leak, and they weren't showing us those. People were sleeping in there. They work midnight, so we're not going in there. Oh, okay.
That's crazy. What else would be maybe like you're over ambitious in kind of expanding?
No, we had the money. We survived because we had the money as a syndicate.
True.
But oh man, we got hit hard. We lost a lot of money on misrepresentation. But as much as you want to blame her, it's on us.
Right.
That's why there's a due diligence.
Research, right?
Yeah, so you can't gloss over the details. You got to do a deep dive. So that would be the stuff that I've learned on failures.
Hmm.
I've also shot a few movies, and you can lose money on those in a hurry because I would say, and no disrespect to anybody from the industry that may watch this, but there's a lot of broken toys in that industry.
Right.
It's not like real estate where most people are you know, of competence and sane mind.
What about the real estate? Like, what do you think has led to your success? Like the main factors.
So I did a SWOT analysis before I knew what a SWOT analysis was. I got into the
Right.
business,
Okay.
right? And I said, okay, what am I good at? Well, I already own a bunch of income properties. That's some credibility with investors. And then, I did an environmental assessment too. Again, not knowing that that was a thing. So I'm like, okay, there's 800 real estate agents in Windsor, Essex. I started looking at the best ones. And I started realizing like there's four categories of real estate sales, right? There's residential,
Hmm.
commercial, industrial, and income properties. And there was a couple guys that were really good at industrial. There was a couple guys that were really good at commercial. Everybody did residential. Where's the income property guy?
Right.
There's there's no there's no income property guy. I was like,
Perfect.
he's right here. I'm the income property guy because I owned a few too, so I had instant credibility as a landlord. Like I
Yeah.
understood what landlord people were going through. They could use, my fledgling power team of tradespeople and stuff back then, and yeah, it was messy, but I mean, you're in one of the biggest cities in Canada, and you're not just driving a market wedge into a niche. You're literally able to take over an entire category of niches. And so that allowed me to get very busy very quickly. So within 2 years, I've already hired an assistant who was awesome. And I had to bring in my first real estate agent to help, and that's Greg Mael, who's still on the team to this day. So we've worked together for almost 19 years now. And he does the larger ICI sales for us. And over time, you build up your team. And if I can offer any advice to people that are building a team, you've got to. I guess there's a couple different things here, Will, and you can cut me off if you've got to ask other questions.
Hmm.
But with team building, the number one thing is everybody has to trust one another. There's 5 dysfunctions of team. The other 4, you can kind of survive. You cannot survive distrust. You can't.
True.
You don't have a team without trust. And it took me a few years, but I figured out the power of having a team vision and a team mission statement. And that
Gotcha.
evaded me for a long time, man. But when I realized what our team vision was, I put it up on the wall in our office. I had a professional do it, and I had them put up the mission statement. So the mission statement is what you show the clients. The vision statement is internal to you guys, right? So the mission statement is basically to make people wealthy through real estate investment, right? In a nutshell, that's their mandate.
Okay. Rhys, I've realized that a lot of the questions I'm asking, like, you're kind of touching on it.
I am, eh?
Answer. So I'll just ask, like, maybe just keep it more specific to me.
Sure. Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah.
So we're more like a line, because I don't want you to tell me something and then I ask you something you already told
You
me.
can interrupt me anytime I'm going too long, buddy. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So I guess along the lines of mission statement,
Yeah.
because I do have a question here, like, what is the kind of culture in your organization?
Got it.
How did you foster that?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of buy-in, man. It starts again with team trust. They got to trust you. Yeah. They got to trust that you have their best interests in mind, as a team. And I do. And it's sincere. And people aren't stupid. They know if it's not sincere.
Right.
If you're going to build a team because I want to get rich, it's not going to work because it's too much about you, right?
We need to get rich.
Yeah, your team success, like one of my sales guys is driving a Lamborghini now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Steve. And Stephanie, I think worked with you, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, Stephanie now. I should say that. So the team mission statement is to help our clients get wealthy through real estate investment. essentially. The vision statement that's internal to the team is we are going to put as much of our active income from commissions into passive income by real estate investment so that we can choose, so that our passive incomes outstrip our active incomes and we can choose to sell real estate. That's our mission, or sorry, that's our vision. So everybody on that team, and other teams can't figure out how I don't lose any team members. And that's why, because we're not just selling real estate. Our vision is to also invest in real estate. And so if you're on the team, you've got a constant knowledge base of what's going on, what's available, blah blah blah. And I learned this from Jerry Udell, who's a great real estate lawyer in town. Did you use Jerry?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Happy referred.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so Jerry's one of the best in Ontario, but he's one of the 3 guys that we'll refer over and over again. And Jerry is a mentor to me. And Jerry taught me a long time ago because I said, Jerry, what do I do, man? I'm buying up income properties. I don't want to buy up like the best stuff. What about my clients? The ethics of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, kiddo, you buy one a year. You buy one a year, then you're never in the way of your clients because it's only one.
True.
Right. So with that rule, and then we developed another rule out of that as well. So with that rule, as you start generating more wealth, that one better be bigger, right? The nice thing about them being bigger as well, or in no man's land. No man's land is between about 6 units or 7 units to about 20 units.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit of a no man's land in there where there's barely any buyers, because if you're doing a value add, you're either doing small fix and flips as an investor or you're doing big fix flips as an investor. So when people move from the small to the big, they're only in that no man's land for a short period of time before they have the money to do the big stuff, right? So we invest where our clients aren't. So we do a lot of missing middle investment.
True.
And then Stephanie Saunders, for example, she only does projects that her whole client base has said no to.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, she's making.
I'm gonna have to redirect you because I think this aligns to my next question.
Yeah, go.
So, like, how is innovation a critical component of the real estate business, and how have you maybe innovated your business strategy in your company? I guess you kind of already touched on that by finding niches that people don't, that are like missing investors.
There's a shocking amount of innovation. Even right now we're adjusting our marketing strategy, and we're doing it in such a way that we are fully aware that nobody else is doing around here. But we know it works for other real estate agents, top real estate agents in other communities. So we're very excited about what we're doing. And a lot of it is now integrating artificial intelligence. And nobody was talking about it a year ago. And even right now, as we're doing this, I've got an artificial intelligence taking notes, right? Fathom.
Yeah, that's true.
It's shocking how much I never am a first adopter. I let everybody else figure it out
That's
first.
smart. No, that's smart.
Yeah, I learned that from the used computer business. I always stay 6 months behind. Yeah, let everybody else figure out the bugs and everything, and the stuff that's the best rises to the top, and you use that stuff before the other 90% of people. So you don't want to be in the first 10%. You want to be like the next 10 to 20%, so that you're still ahead of everybody else, right? So I'm always about 6 months behind. But anyway, so yeah, we use increasingly a series of artificial intelligences to improve our marketing strategy, search engine optimize, automate. I just said, I got an artificial intelligence. They'll get rid of that out of the video.
That's crazy.
Right? Like it's something. So there's innovation all the time. And like you talk about Greg Mael on my team, I always joke around saying that we've had to reinvent Greg more than Madonna's reinvented herself. Because large ICI properties, the market's always changing. There is barely anything worth buying right now that's large. 60% of large ICI sales right now in Windsor, Essex are land deals. That's where the opportunity is. So Greg is very busy pivoting to selling land. And, we're looking for land for a variety of clients right now. Some are speculators, some are developers, one's a logistics firm, but that's innovation. You got to constantly evolve or you die. As an entrepreneur, I don't care what you're doing.
You have
You got
to
to constantly evolve or die.
And going along with kind of like what you guys do currently, do you follow specific routines as an organization, like certain rules or approaches to operating?
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody shares a very similar core morals and ethics on the team. And so the training reflects that, right? So everybody's trained in a very similar way. So Jason Balsden, for example, on our team, right now he's working with Rhys Trenhaile, our chief operating officer, to refine how he does his cash flow analyses.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of me doing it for him or redoing it for him, we're training him so he does it the exact same way with the exact same templates as everybody else on the team. Jason's fairly new on the team, so he's still learning as he's going. First 2 years, you just keep learning, on the team, so the steep learning curve for the first 2 years. But yeah, there's a constant, training that keeps everybody on the same page doing the same thing. So everybody would approach a listing appointment the same way. Everybody would handle objections the same way or stalls the same way because we're all trained the same way. So you got to have those core morals and ethics that center the individual. And I have people on the team. I had one guy who was a chronic liar on the team.
Get rid of him.
Devout Christian. Yeah, Christian evangelical, devout. And I see this all the time. Yeah, in Voltaire back in the 1700s in the book Candide, beware the most devout.
True.
Yeah, it was very devout.
Sorry, we have to keep going because I do have a bunch of questions.
Go ahead, buddy. Yeah, keep me moving.
Maybe we can just kind of try to fire these off quickly.
Yeah,
first question, to what degree do you think you have a fit between the organization and its environment? And how have you changed to fit? How has the firm changed to fit its environment?
I mean, we're a fit because it was such a gaping hole, right? An entire category wasn't being focused on. And so do we fit? Yeah, absolutely. We kind of created it. Right. And it does change over time, Will, sensibilities, what you're buying based on things changing, like interest rates, for example. Yeah.
Okay. Can you share any experiences about scaling your business, so growing it, and what were some of the main challenges in doing that?
So for the real estate business, scaling requires additional leads, that become clients, that become sales. But you also need the real estate agents to handle those leads, right? And so scaling up means adding more agents, and it's not easy. You've got to learn, in my case, that the most important thing is the personality for sales. Mm-hmm. You can teach the products. You can't teach people to be natural salespeople. So we ended up learning to do personality tests. And if you don't score as a prototypical salesperson, we don't hire you.
No, that's smart, honestly.
Yeah, no, we're not the only team that does that. I learned that from a real estate consultant. But it was a huge improvement to not just the quality of the people on the team, but the retention of the people on the team instead of the high turnover that other teams experience. That was a huge factor. And then the training also keeps those agents on board. The vision, all rowing in the same direction towards independent wealth. All these things allow for a foundation to be built that you can now scale on. Right. So right now, we've decided to go from our usual 7 real estate agents. We're going to go up to 10. Nice. We're going to go up to 10 because the foundation can handle it easily. So as long as everybody involved already trusts the process, and we make sure up front they're cool that they know we're doing it, and you end up with a team of 10 and you end up with more revenues. That's scaling.
And going along kind of the lines of decision making, not only for hiring but overall, to what degree do you kind of make your decisions based on intuition versus making them based on hard facts?
Oh man, you got to use both. You got to use both. Yeah, because you've got to. So you're almost getting into lead measures and lag measures, right? So when there was an explosion of homeless people, not just in Windsor, but right across, the Western world,
Mm-hmm.
homeless people would show up overnight. Like I lived downtown when we went from the same sort of 8 to 10 faces to 200. It was overnight.
Wow.
And people didn't understand, what had happened. Well, I did, because I knew that the vacancy rate in Windsor had gone down to next to nothing.
Right.
And so what happens then is the slumlord, the worst slumlord, can choose between their tenants. And one of those two tenants can end up on the street, right? There's no more vacancy. Like the worst tenants are going to end up on the street, and those tend to be your people that are mentally, have mental challenges.
Yeah.
So the lead measures and lag measures, I would say, is a big part of it. Whether that's observational, like you see the homeless people on the street suddenly, or measurable. We know that the vacancy rate plummeted to zero at the same time.
True.
Right. So although that answer isn't directly related to my business, we do that all the time. We are tracking our
Yeah.
bookkeeping. We are tracking our market share every month, our bookkeeping every month, our market share every month, and we have annualized goals for every single teammate. So we know what the overall team goal is, and then so monthly we're following up with them, making sure that they're still staying on pace to hit their collective their goal. So that's the tracking and accountability.
And now, Rhys, going kind of further back to before you started entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
like what motivated you to become an entrepreneur, and what kind of relationships around you helped to advance your journey?
I've asked myself this question because I still remember surprising myself when my mom said at the age of 14, "I have a job for you to work at a funeral home." And I told her at 14 years old without hesitation, "I will never work for anybody."
Wow.
It came out of my mouth, and it came out of my mouth. I was like, "Where'd that come from?" I still remember. I still remember that moment where I was just like, "Oh, wow, okay." And I can only think that my dad's best friend was an entrepreneur, and his wife was my godmother, so I was around them all the time. Still around the kids. God rest their souls, the parents. And then my buddy Jamie McCreary, who I've recently become friends with again. We got distant he moved up to Toronto, kind of lost touch, so we're good friends again. Really great. I love the guy, but we became friends again when his dad died. He was really bumming out. And I said, "Look, this is how important your dad was to me. These are all the lessons your dad taught me, about being a man and being a businessman." And yeah, our friendships kind of rekindled strongly through that. So Mr. McCurry would be really happy about that. And I think it was those two. I think it was Mr. McCurry. He started off sweeping the floors at Curtis Printing, ended up becoming the president and owning it. He started sweeping floors at the same place, ended up owning it. Right. Yeah. So he was a huge inspiration, I think, to my entrepreneurialism. And then Mr. Lon, who created an engineering firm, basically, that did contract work for the big three, Ford, Chrysler, and yeah. But yeah, those would be my two. I think those are the two sort of adults in my life that I was like, oh, I like what they do.
And when you started, did you have like a team with you? Like, did you have partners, people that were interested along you, or was it just yourself? Was it?
No, I was a single entrepreneur right through owning student. Well, no, the first student rental property I bought was with Kevin O'Connor, who's another super close friend of mine. He was the best man at my wedding. When we were both on the track team, he was 20, I was 22. We bought our first student rental property. We owned it for 13 years. Yeah, it was really good to us, man. But yeah, he's one of my two closest friends.
Awesome.
But
for your like president company,
yeah, no, it's been me, myself, and I essentially.
That's right.
Yeah, Reed Renault, my chief operating officer, is my partner on our private equity ventures. And Greg Mael and I are like turning around a 5-unit building right now, converting an old commercial building into 4 residential and one office space, 1 retail space. So yeah, you partner up when you need to, but yeah, most of it's solo, I'd say.
And going along with looking back on your journey, what kind of policies were there that helped entrepreneurs, or are there policies that help an entrepreneur like yourself? And what do you think, in looking forward, what kind of policies would help you or help a new entrepreneur?
Overall, Canada is very business friendly.
Okay.
Right. I think we're the 6th easiest to open up a business in the world. Right. And that alone is powerful. Like, you're starting as a Canadian, you're starting in an environment that if you've got any sort of skill and ability and work ethic, you're gonna not just survive but thrive 9 times out of 10. Like, you really are. Like, in my city right now, there are so many opportunities for the entrepreneur. We don't have enough entrepreneurs.
Right.
Like, if you want to stay in Toronto and compete with 18 people in a tiny niche, go for it. But there's a lot of cities like Windsor where you'll be the only cat in that niche. You'll kill it. And I guess if there's any sort of policy moves, is tell these entrepreneurs in Toronto to quit eating table scraps and come to these other cities and be a big fish in a medium-sized pond. You're missing out. Think of what I said at the beginning. There was no real estate agent purporting to be the income property specialist. And Sadie ended up becoming the #1 high-rise condo salesperson in town, mostly because nobody was the condo specialist. She called herself the condo queen. It was like
nobody there. True.
She was my old administrative assistant, but we had her do the personality test. She scored perfectly as a real estate agent. I was like, get your license. And now she's killing it with condos and in construction because her husband is one of the best footings guys in town. But this is what I mean. Like, what policies do you need? Well, keep running a good, steady government. Keep us in the top 10 for business friendliness in the world. What else do you want, man?
Anything else? What like related to taxes or regulations? Anything that?
Well, I mean,
you think would be easier?
Every entrepreneur goes, cut my taxes. Yeah. But it's like, again, they're being an entrepreneur is so tax friendly. Like,
right, yeah.
You don't pay 46. I make a lot of money. I don't pay 46% like an employee. I pay 17% roughly in taxes. Cool. Like, for me to say cut my taxes,
hard.
Yeah, really? Like, you already have cut my taxes. You've already made those policies happen, and it's reward for the risk, right?
True.
They want more for entrepreneurs because we create tons of jobs. I create a ton of jobs. And they want to reward the people that take those risks and feel those stresses. I'm having a stressful day today, right? But that's part of it. That's part of the game, man. Not every day is going to be roses. And if you think it's, to me, it's still safer than being an employee,
Right.
Because you control your destiny.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a fallacy. And it's not just me. There's a lot of experts that say that. People feel safe in jobs. You're not really that safe.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to like the Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
It's true, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people just want like security, go to school, get a job. But in the end, you don't really get the benefit from taking on a little more risk.
Yeah, and it's small calculated risks, right? And as you learn as an entrepreneur, if you start as an entrepreneur in your 20s, you're going to make a ton of money in your 20s. You're going to lose it in your 30s.
Interesting.
And you're going to do all your learning in your 20s and 30s, and then in your 40s, that's when you rebuild it and you hold on to it. You learn to hold on to it. Yeah, over and over again, you see that with most entrepreneurs.
But I guess like another area in terms of like being successful would be to take calculated risks and I guess keep learning through the ups and downs.
Yeah, you do all your learning when that plane's crashing towards the the earth, and the reality is for an entrepreneur, as long as you're under 50 years old, you can rebuild it. So if your plane is crashing towards the ground, if it crashes, that's bankruptcy, and that's okay. The system allows you to go bankrupt and restart. Global meltdown. I was in that plane, and I was in the other group. I was in the group that was just able to pull hard enough up on the joystick and just skirt bankruptcy.
Wow.
Oh yeah, but again, every entrepreneur is going to lose it all at least once. Get it through your thick skull right now. You are not evading losing everything at some point. Yeah, or almost.
I know we're kind of a little bit over time, but I just have a couple of questions.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay, I really appreciate it, Rhys.
No worries.
So before you began your current business, did you have a plan? I guess you kind of mentioned you had a kind of outline of what you were going to do, but did you set a plan, and how did it change over time?
I mean, my first plan was to make $100,000 a year. This is back in 2002. And then from there, you start learning to, create your business plans and create your goals and your milestones, and tracking that and keeping accountability in that. And you just kind of learn things over time, so. And I was going to say this earlier. Basically, one of the big three differences between the wealthy and everybody else is consistently learning. And Will, you just said, oh, in Rich Dad Poor Dad, that means you're reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. You're going above and beyond your university education, right? Did I tell you to read that book, by the way? Was that me?
No, you mentioned it. I think in our call we had like a few months ago, you definitely mentioned it.
Yeah.
But I knew about it before as well.
Yeah, it's a great book. Great starter book. That's where you start.
It is. That's why I kind of got into it.
That can be your mentality base for your entire journey, that book. And then for me, and what drove me from an early stage in the real estate industry was the recognition that the most important currency isn't money. The most important currency is time. And so I was very successful my first few years, but I was working 80, 85 hours a week. I was burning out all the time. He wasn't exactly enjoying it. And I'm like, okay, there's other things I want to do in life besides just selling real estate on a hamster wheel. I got to figure out how to get down to 4 days a week, 12 hours a day. If I can do that, make the same money, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And one of my clients said, I was selling her an apartment building the value add. And she said, oh, there's a book called The 4-Day Work Week. There is? Yeah.
You referred that book to me. So you did not refer Rich Dad Poor Dad, but that was the book you told me to read. It's still on my reading list. I haven't gone around to it yet.
Do I have it there? Yeah, hold on. So I thought it was the 4-Day Work Week. I go into chapter, said, lady, I want the 4-Day Work Week. She goes, oh, no, there's no book called that, but there is 4-hour work week. Yeah, there you
go. Yes. So
you can see you treat it like a
right.
You treat it like a textbook. This is a book that I'll revisit once every couple of years,
just to refresh and
to see if I'm missing that one thing. And so for me, I had to build a team to delegate. I had to figure out how to automate, and I had to figure out how to eliminate. And so that book really gave me early guidance on that. And you just have to keep learning. I got another book up there called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Keller from the brokerage Keller Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Another excellent book for real estate agents building teams. And that's it, man. You just got to continually learn, and that reduces your risk, and that increases your capacity for profits. Right? So you got to learn how to take small calculated risks. Right? You got to learn how to plan 3 years and 10 years in the future. Those should be your two major 1 year at a time, 3 years at a time, 10 years at a time. Where do I want to be? Where do I want to be? Right? And those goals have to be specific and measurable.
Smart.
Another great book to read to learn how to go after those goals effectively is called 4DX by Stephen Covey. God rest his soul. So the 4DX model works in governments, it works in businesses. It's an excellent model. So you got to plan in advance. You got to plan more than 1 week at a time as an entrepreneur to get wealthy. You got to keep learning, and you got to take small calculated risks with your money. And the three things I just described, the middle and lower classes do not do. Only wealthy people do those three things. And the continual learning blew my mind. I would have said, oh, it's the middle classes, right? That's where the school teachers are. That's where the professors are, No.
It's not, yeah. That's, again, the rich get poor dad idea.
The wealthy continually learn, continually take small calculated risks, and continually plan years in advance. Those are the only three differences between the wealthy and everybody else, man.
And was there anything that you think you could have done differently looking back at it?
Yeah, of course. But that's not the journey. Yeah, I mean, hindsight's 20/20, man. Of course,
Always things.
Oh, right? Yeah, but that's the whole point. If you do crash and burn now, because there's a global meltdown or something, the fact is you know what to do to generate wealth, and you can build it back up fairly quickly. Yeah. So I didn't have a whole hell of a lot 10 years ago, from the fallout of the global meltdown in sort of 08, 09. I kind of suffered through to about 2011, and then it started picking back up again for me.
When the market came back.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't just even the market coming back. It was that I had debts to pay off because I didn't go bankrupt. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that fallout that lasted about 4 years. It was horrible, man. But man, I learned everything. I still remember the frustration of the last year of those 4 years because I wasn't learning anything anymore from it. I was ready for it to be over because the learning was done. I did the learning in the first 3 years of those 4 years of pain. That last year was the worst year because I wasn't learning anything.
True.
Yeah.
Just to kind of complete this off, Rhys, first, for your organization, how many employees do you have?
Oh, 10.
10? And you mentioned your computer business and your lawn caring business that you're not doing anymore. Right. How long were they around for?
My lawn care business I had for 7 years, 14 to 21. The used computer business I had, let me think here, 20 to 27. So there were 7 years each.
6 or 7 years?
Yeah, and then I've been selling real estate since I was 26, and I'm 48 now.
48 now. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not just doing real estate sales anymore, right? Like, I'm at a point where the team does all the sales. I help out here and there, but I'm mostly building the team and scaling it, right? And making sure there's lead generation, etc. So I'm working on the business, not in it now. And I have other business interests now, right? Like private equity investment with merchant banks and things. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Also, that's part of your scale-up answer too. Is I scaled up through investment in the same category, right? So I didn't just keep selling real estate, Reed. I asked Reed one day, I remember leaning in his door jam and I said, we were going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. We can do that for the rest of our lives. It's pretty good. But how do we start making 7 figures a year? And then if we do that, how do we start making 8 figures a year? Real estate agents don't ask themselves that. They just don't. They'll just stay in the hamster wheel of the game, right? Selling and living well. But Reed and I were like, there's people out there that make 7 figures a year. How do we make 7 figures a year? We can't do it through real estate sales, so how are we going to do it? Private equity. So that was 2017. And that's where I went to live in Toronto half the year and Windsor half the year. And I got integrated into Bay Street and the private equity people. And
yeah.
One of them became my business partner, and now I'm being asked to be I shouldn't say that. I can't actually, that's in confidence. But yeah, it's progressive that way. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm going to Dubai tomorrow, right?
Yes. Have a great trip.
Thank you.
It's a lot of buildings there and everything. It just looks incredible. So
yeah, we'll have to see how it is.
Yeah.
2 days there.
Awesome. I think that's pretty much it. I might have like a couple of quick questions about your company. Actually, maybe I can ask you this now. Like, when did you incorporate? I just have to knock some of these
We
points.
weren't allowed to incorporate until the government allowed us to about 4 years ago.
Okay, but your business was like operating a long time before then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but we weren't allowed to incorporate. 22 years total, only 4 years incorporated, but that was not by choice.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They do ask that I could like for me to provide them of like a resume for you or a LinkedIn page. So would it be okay if I just kind of included your LinkedIn page to?
Yeah, add my LinkedIn page. That'll work for you. Sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Rhys. Thank you for the time.
Hey, man, you're
Really
welcome.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, like just talking with you, I love talking with you. You always share so many great stories, and in the future, like I would love, I don't know, like outside of this project, but just to hear more about you and to talk about books. I
Yeah.
think there's a few books that we both really like. So
Next time you're down in Windsor, we'll just grab a coffee, man.
yeah, no, for sure.
You're a client, buddy. I want to see you get wealthy, and that starts with the relationship. So yeah, by all means.
Yeah, and thank you for all your help with that as well. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's turned out well, like, pretty well so far. So
It should be the first of many for you. My suggestion is just to keep not because I'm down here, but keep concentrating. Now that you got one here, buy more here. You've got your team. That team creates stability and safety of your investments, and just let the team build up your portfolio slowly over time. And you'll be in good shape. I was just talking to my buddy from high school yesterday. Guy owns 10 properties. He's a janitor at St. Clair College. He's going to retire wealthy. Like I know with the net, he's worth. He's going to be worth $10 million by the time he retires. He's a janitor. What my unskilled line worker retired with 5.4 million. My literal ditch digger sold off his properties, retired $7 million, bought a house on the lake up north. Like these are not rocket scientists. Will they ain't going to university? They're just slowly but surely buying one at a time. Buying one at a time. They don't over leverage. They buy one at a time. They buy one at a time. Yeah, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Yeah. And two of them are really good at value add, actually. So if you're buying a house heading an ADU unit, that's the best That's the best value add right now.
True. Well, thank you so much, Rhys.
All right, pal.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my Thanksgiving I'll be in the air, but that's cool. Say hi to your dad for me.
I will.
All right, Will.
All right. Talk to you later.
Yeah. See you, man.
Thank you so much, Rhys.